For centuries, we believed that the universe existed independently of us, an objective machine made of fixed parts, ticking forward like a clock, indifferent to our presence. But quantum physics shattered that illusion. It didn't just nudge the door open for a new reality, it blew the hinges off. In the subatomic world, things don't exist in a definite state until they are observed. Particles behave like waves. Infinite possibilities until the moment someone looks, then and only then they collapse into something measurable, something real. This single act of observation changes the outcome. You are not separate from the universe. You are the trigger, the catalyst, the observer. That gives birth to form. Let's break this down, not in theory but in vibration. In 1801, Thomas Young's double-slit experiment revealed something terrifyingly beautiful. When electrons are fired through two slits, without being observed, they behave like a wave, meaning they go through both slits at once, like a ghost of possibility. But the moment they're observed, they collapse into a particle, choosing a single slit, a single path, a single outcome. In other words, your awareness changes the behavior of matter. Not your hopes, not your dreams, your attention. Your presence. This is not spiritual poetry. This is observable, testable, and repeated in laboratories worldwide. The universe waits for you to look before deciding what it will be, but that's just the surface. What the double slit doesn't tell you is why your observation changes the outcome. And here's where science begins to echo what mystics and sages have said. For millennia, consciousness is not inside your skull, it is the field itself. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, said it best: I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. That means the field responds not just to your eyes but to your inner frequency, your emotional state, your intention, your coherent energy. This is why two people can look at the same world and see two completely different realities, because it's not what you look at that matters, it's the energy you bring to the looking. Now here's the twist: observation isn't about starring, it's about coherence. Joe Dispenza's work shows that when brain waves and heart rhythms enter harmony, when you're in a state of emotional and mental coherence, your body becomes a broadcast tower. You emit a clear, coherent electromagnetic signal into the quantum field, and the field, like a mirror, reflects that coherence back to you in the form of synchronicities, shifts, and manifestations. But when you observe reality with doubt, fear, or desperation, your signal becomes scrambled, and so does the outcome. This explains why affirmations whispered in panic don't work. You can't fake alignment. The universe doesn't speak language, it speaks frequency. Let's go deeper. Every time you think a thought, your brain sends an electrical signal. Every time you feel an emotion, your heart generates a magnetic field. Together, these form your electromagnetic signature, a vibrational fingerprint broadcasting into the quantum field 24/7. And just like a radio station, the field tunes into whatever signal you're emitting, not what you say you want, but what you consistently vibrate. This is why someone can meditate every morning visualizing abundance, yet spend the rest of the day radiating scarcity. The field responds to the dominant frequency, not the 5-minute ritual. It's not the conscious mind that manifests. It's the coherent field generated by what you habitually feel, believe, and embody. Now consider this. If matter arises from energy, and energy is influenced by attention, then the way you observe the world literally alters the world. When you walk into a room and feel unworthy, you don't just interpret the environment through that lens. You alter the energetic dynamics of the space. Your field contracts, your behavior shifts, and people respond differently. This creates a feedback loop that seems to confirm your unworthiness, when in truth, it's your vibration collapsing, a version of reality that matches your internal state. This is not karma, it's coherence, it's resonance. It's the mechanics of manifestation, not the mysticism. And yet most people walk through life unconsciously collapsing realities that reflect their wounds, their fears, their old stories. They believe they are waiting for the universe to bless them, not realizing that every second they are observing, and therefore collapsing a version of the universe into being. This is where responsibility becomes power, because if your unconscious is collapsing realities by default, imagine what happens when you begin collapsing them by design, when you observe your life through the lens of wholeness, gratitude and embodied knowing, not someday, but now the field has no choice. It must mirror that back, not because it likes you, but because that's the law. Let me give you an image. Imagine the quantum field as an infinite sea of possibilities, waves of potential stretching in every direction. Some waves are close to you, outcomes that feel real, believable, accessible. Others are far away, lives you dream of but secretly doubt. When you think a thought, especially with emotion, you send a ripple through that sea. The more coherent your signal, the stronger the ripple. Eventually, one of those waves collapses and becomes your moment. That's manifestation, not magic, but magnetism, not force, but frequency. And the only real question is, what waves are you collapsing, and do they reflect who you truly are? But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not collapsing the future they want. They're collapsing the one they expect. And expectation is nothing more than emotionally rehearsed belief. You can say you want change, but if your field is still entangled with the past, if your nervous system is addicted to the emotions of lack, guilt, or victimhood, then you're still observing through the lens of limitation. You can't collapse abundance from a signal of lack. You can't collapse healing from a vibration of fear. The field is neutral, but your observation is not. And that's where your power lives. So what happens when you learn to observe reality not as it is but as it could be, while embodying the emotional state of already having it? What happens when your body becomes a living memory of a future that hasn't happened yet in time, but already exists in the field? You become a conscious participant in creation. You no longer manifest by trying, you manifest by tuning. You no longer chase outcomes. You collapse them, not through effort but through alignment. But wait, if all this is true, why do so many people still fail to manifest even when they understand the science? They visualize, they feel it, they know the theory, and yet nothing changes. Why? Because there's a deeper mechanism, a missing piece in the puzzle of manifestation, one that almost no one talks about. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. Why most people unconsciously sabotage their quantum field and how to break the cycle. You can visualize, you can script, you can meditate every morning with the image of your dream life. You can feel the emotions, repeat the affirmations, make the vision board, and still nothing changes. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and the gap between what you desire and what you experience remains painfully intact. You begin to wonder if you're doing something wrong, or worse, if there's something wrong with you. But the truth is far more subtle and far more liberating, because the reason most manifestation fails has nothing to do with your effort or sincerity. It has everything to do with one invisible force running the show beneath your awareness, your embodied identity. Let's strip this down to the roots. You are not manifesting from your conscious mind. You are manifesting from the autonomic patterns stored in your nervous system, from the emotional set point your body has memorized, from the self-image your brain has rehearsed into default. You don't get what you want. You get what you are wired to expect. And that wiring was set long before you ever heard the word manifestation. It was built in childhood, encoded through trauma, repetition, environment, and emotional experience. And until you Change that frequency at the source, not just intellectually, but somatically. You will unconsciously keep tuning into realities that match the old script. This is why desire alone is not enough. The body must believe what the mind imagines. Here's how it works. Your brain is a prediction machine. Every second it filters billions of bits of information, scanning for patterns that match your existing beliefs. When you visualize a new reality, but your nervous system is still anchored in lack, the brain doesn't take it seriously. It treats it as fantasy, not prediction, and the quantum field, responding to your dominant signal, not your wishful thinking, simply mirrors the old pattern back. This explains why people can do all the right manifestation techniques and still feel like nothing works. They're planting seeds in toxic soil. They're speaking abundance but embodying scarcity. And the field responds to coherence, not contradiction. Now let's bring in the science. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, when you combine a clear intention, a mental picture, with an elevated emotion like gratitude, love, or empowerment, you create a new electromagnetic signature, one that signals to the field, this is who I am now. But if that elevated emotion is not real, if it's faked, forced, or layered on top of suppressed fear, it creates incoherence. Think of it like tuning a radio. You might set the dial to a new frequency, but if static is overpowering the signal, the music won't come through. That static is the unresolved emotion in your body, the pain, shame, doubt, or anger that still holds energetic weight. If left unaddressed, it overrides your intentions, not because you're broken, but because your energy is split. And here lies the deeper truth no one tells. You are always manifesting. Even when you think it's working, just not in the way you want, because your vibration never stops broadcasting. If your identity is still fused with the past, with the version of you who failed, who struggled, who didn't believe, then that's the version your field collapses into form. You can't manifest a new timeline while emotionally addicted to the old one. Your biology is your frequency, your nervous system is your tuner, and until the inner world updates, the outer world repeats. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine trying to tune into a symphony while your body is still clinging to the static of an old trauma. You might hear glimpses of beauty, flashes of possibility, but they're drowned out by the noise of what hasn't been resolved. This is why healing is not separate from manifestation. It is manifestation. Because when you transmute the emotional charge of the past, you free up space in your field, you raise your baseline vibration, you clear the static, and suddenly the signal of your desired reality can break through, not as a fleeting vision but as a tangible experience. But healing doesn't mean digging through every childhood wound. It means feeling what you've never allowed yourself to feel. It means allowing the emotion to move through instead of bypassing it with positive thinking. Because when you bypass your pain, you don't dissolve it, you suppress it. And suppressed emotion is stored energy. That energy becomes magnetic, not to what you want, but to what matches the frequency of what's unresolved. This is why the law of attraction without the law of vibration is incomplete. The universe doesn't care what's on your vision board. It responds to the emotional memory your body keeps replaying. Now here's where things begin to shift. You don't need to fix yourself to manifest. You don't need to be perfect, healed, or high vibe all the time, but you do need to be honest. You need to become aware of the gap between what you say you want and what you truly believe is possible for you. You need to feel the grief beneath the hope, the fear beneath the affirmation. And you need to meet those energies, not with resistance but with compassion. Because what you meet with love you dissolve, and what you dissolve you reclaim as power. There's one more layer. Most people try to manifest from the place of wanting, but wanting is a signal of lack. When you want something, You are by definition acknowledging that you don't have it, and in the quantum field, that vibrational signature becomes your reality. You're not punished for wanting, but you are magnetizing from it. Neville Goddard taught the power of assumption, the practice of living as if the desire is already fulfilled, not as a trick but as an act of alignment. When you assume, you become. When you become, you collapse, and when you collapse, the future folds into now. So, the real reason most manifestation fails is not because people are lazy, undisciplined, or unlucky. It's because they're trying to change their lives without changing their identity. They're trying to create a new outcome from the same emotional chemistry that created the old one. And the quantum field doesn't respond to your timeline. It responds to your signature. Until your signature shifts, the loop continues. Not out of punishment, but out of coherence. Because the universe is always loyal, not to your preferences, but to your frequency. But what happens when your frequency finally reflects the version of you who already has it? When your body becomes the memory of your future. When you stop visualizing your dream life and start being the one who lives it. That's when reality bends. That's when timelines jump. That's when the quantum responds. And in the next chapter, you'll discover exactly how that happens, because the universe doesn't respond to what you desire. It responds to what you embody. And once you understand this vibrational mirror, you'll never look at manifestation the same way again. What if the universe doesn't speak in words, symbols, or even thoughts, but in resonance? What if it isn't responding to what you think you want, but to what you are in this exact moment? This is the silent truth behind every quantum shift, every timeline jump, every so-called miracle. The universe is not a vending machine that gives you what you request. It is a mirror. Perfect, neutral, and immediate, reflecting back the signature you're transmitting, regardless of what you say, believe, or wish. And here's the most confronting part: that reflection is always accurate. You are not manifesting things. You are manifesting reflections of your state of being. If there is chaos around you, there is unresolved chaos within you. If opportunities keep slipping away, there's a signal inside you that doesn't feel safe receiving. If love feels distant, it may be because your energy still expects abandonment more than connection. This isn't about blame, it's about radical energetic responsibility. Because once you understand that reality is responding to your inner coherence, not your conscious preferences, you stop begging the universe to change. You start tuning yourself to the version of reality that already matches your desired outcome. Think of the field like a cosmic mirror, not metaphorically but energetically. Everything you experience is a reflection of the vibration you hold most consistently, not what you feel once in meditation, but what your nervous system has rehearsed as normal. If your baseline is guilt, even abundance will feel uncomfortable. If your baseline is stress, even peace will feel boring. The quantum field doesn't filter your signal through your intentions. It matches your vibrational average. This is why people often sabotage their manifestations. They reach for something new while still being emotionally entangled with the old, and the universe in its precise neutrality simply reflects the dominant signal. Let's bring this home through the science of coherence. Heart math Institute has shown that the heart emits a magnetic field several feet beyond the body, and that this field changes based on your emotional state. When you enter heart coherence, a state of appreciation, love, or deep presence, your electromagnetic signature becomes smooth, harmonic, and expansive. You literally become a stronger transmitter, and in that state, reality bends. You begin to notice synchronicities, connections, breakthroughs, not because the universe suddenly loves you, but because your field has entered into resonance with a more aligned timeline. In other words, you're no longer chasing the reality you want, You're matching it. Now consider this. Everything you want already exists as a frequency in the quantum field. There is no waiting for it to arrive, only waiting for you to align. This is not about becoming worthy. You are always worthy. This is about becoming resonant. Worthiness is not a reward, it's a remembering. And the moment you stop striving to earn your future and start embodying the energy of already being it, the quantum responds. Not later, not eventually. Instantly, because in the quantum field time is irrelevant. There is only now. And your frequency within it. This is why wanting blocks manifestation. Wanting implies distance, and that distance becomes a self-fulfilling vibration. The more you want, the more you reinforce the idea that you don't yet have, and that vibration creates a field that reflects more absence. But when you shift from wanting to being, everything changes. You stop sending signals of separation. You start radiating unity with the reality you're calling in. That's when the field begins to echo your frequency in tangible form. Not because you forced it, but because you finally matched it. Let me offer you a simple but profound question, one that collapses illusions and activates alignment. If the version of me who already has what I desire was living this day, how would they think, feel, move, speak, and decide? This isn't imagination. This is integration, because as you step into the state of the version, you activate the timeline of the version. And when you sustain that alignment, the field starts rearranging matter around your frequency. This is not magic. This is mechanics, vibrational mechanics. And yet this level of manifestation isn't about effort. It's about energetic hygiene. It's about cleaning up the signals you send through unconscious fear, self-doubt, or inner conflict. It's about listening to the emotional echoes you avoid, the resentment you pretend isn't there, the shame you numb with busyness, the fear you mask with control. These unspoken frequencies are still being broadcast, and the field, being exquisitely sensitive, responds to them just as much as it does to your conscious intentions. So the deeper invitation is not just to focus on what you want, but to become aware of what you're already being. Here's where the mirror becomes your greatest ally. If you're brave enough to look at your life without judgment as a pure reflection of your dominant vibration, you'll discover the map to your next shift. Not through force, but through frequency. You'll begin to recognize the old patterns as just that, patterns, not prison sentences, and you'll stop asking, how do I get there, and start living from, I already am. This inner shift collapses the need for time. It shortcuts the loop of effort it creates. What Neville Goddard called bridge of incidents, the mysterious, effortless path that emerges when your identity has already shifted. And now let's pause right here, because this is the moment to root this truth deep into your field. Type in the comments, I become the frequency of what I already am, not as a mantra, but as a declaration, a signal, a vibrational command. When you write those words, you are aligning your conscious mind, emotional body, and energetic field around a singular truth. You don't chase the reflection. You become the source of what is reflected, and what's coming next will show you how to move through quantum reality with even more clarity. Because now that you understand the mirror, you're ready to jump. In the next chapter, we'll explore the practical energetic mechanics of quantum jumping and how to tune into timelines that already exist, bypassing resistance, collapsing time, and stepping fully into the life that's been waiting for your frequency to find it. There is not one version of your future. There are infinite versions, all vibrating simultaneously in the quantum field like overlapping songs on a giant cosmic playlist. You're not trying to create a new outcome from scratch. You're tuning into a different track, one where you're already healed, already abundant, already free. And just like a radio doesn't invent the music it plays, your consciousness doesn't invent the future. It locks into the frequency that matches it, that's quantum jumping. Not a leap in space or time, but a leap in identity, in vibration and perception. Let's start here. You've been trained to believe that transformation takes time, that you must work, heal, hustle, or prove your worth to earn the next level of your life. But that's a belief rooted in linear cause and effect thinking. Quantum reality doesn't operate by sequence. It operates by selection. When you shift your vibration, you're embodied. Emotion, your mental expectation, your subconscious identity. You don't have to wait for your external world to catch up. The field responds now because all timelines already coexist in your frequency is the selector. Rupert Sheldra's work on morphogenetic fields offers a stunning insight into this. When one organism learns a new behavior, others of the same species can access it faster, even across the globe, because the information becomes part of the shared field. Now apply this to your own evolution. There is a version of you somewhere in the quantum who has already broken through, already healed the pattern, already remembered their power. And that version is not distant, it's entangled with you now. When you tap into that state, not as a fantasy, but as a felt resonance, you collapse the bridge between me then and me now. You jump, but here's where most people misunderstand. Quantum jumping is not about escaping who you are. It's about embodying the version of you that already exists beyond the identity of lack, trauma, or limitation. This requires more than affirmations. It requires a vibrational agreement. You must become familiar emotionally, physiologically when with the energy of the new timeline. You must breathe like them, move like them, choose like them. And as you do, your electromagnetic field shifts. And as your field shifts, your outer world begins to reconfigure. Not by force, but by resonance. Think of it this way. Your life is not a fixed path. It's a multi-dimensional network of potentials, each one activated by your internal state. Every time you react from fear, you jump to one version. Every time you respond with faith, you jump to another. You're constantly hopping timelines, but unconsciously and often backwards. Quantum jumping is simply the conscious practice of selecting, and what determines the jump is not the thought. It's the emotional signature behind the thought, the feeling that tells the field, this is my new normal. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine you are inside a massive hotel with thousands of rooms, each one designed for a different version of your life. You walk into one room and find stress, scarcity, resistance. You leave and walk into another, and suddenly the lighting changes, the music shifts, the energy feels lighter. None of the rooms are right or wrong, they just reflect your current key card, your vibration. To access a new room, you don't argue with the old one, you don't need to destroy it, you simply change the key, and the key is always your state of being. But here's the challenge and the secret no one tells you. Your body is addicted to the old rooms, not by choice but by chemistry. Emotions are not just feelings, they are biochemical cocktails. If you've spent years living in stress, anxiety, or doubt, your cells have adapted to that chemistry. That becomes your baseline. And even if your mind wants to jump to a new version of life, your body may resist, because the new state feels unfamiliar, even unsafe. This is why people self-sabotage just when things start to shift. The old vibration feels like home. The new one feels foreign, and so they jump backwards. The only way to stabilize in a new timeline is to make the new vibration familiar. And that takes rehearsal, not mental rehearsal, but emotional embodiment. This is why practices like heart-brain coherence, visualization with elevated emotion, and future self-scripting are so powerful. They're not magic tricks, they're reprogramming rituals designed to train your body to feel safe in the energy of your next level. Because once your nervous system stops seeing abundance as unknown and starts recognizing it as home, the field responds without resistance and the jump becomes permanent. Now pause and feel this. The version of you who already lives the life you desire is not out there. They are already encoded in the quantum blueprint. Your job is not to create them. Your job is to remember them. 2. Become vibrationally identical to the version that already has the clarity, the confidence, the peace. And you do this not by changing everything at once, but by choosing moment by moment to act. Speak and think in a way that aligns with that future. The leap is not in time, it's in frequency. And every time you choose coherence over chaos, presence over panic, power over pattern, you jump. So how do you begin? Start with stillness. Stillness collapses noise. In stillness, the old identity loses momentum. Then bring your awareness to the felt experience of your future, not just the image but the emotional gravity of it. How would it feel to already be there? Don't reach for it. Rest in it. Let your body remember the sensation. Let your breath anchor the state, and when you open your eyes, carry that frequency into the next decision you make. That decision becomes the shift. That shift becomes the pattern. That pattern becomes the signature. And the signature collapses a new field around you. Quantum jumping is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you already are. Beneath the noise, the signal that was always waiting to be dialed in. You don't need to try harder. You need to tune better. Because the moment your vibration aligns with the version of you who already lives the life you've imagined, you don't just attract it, you arrive in it. And in the final chapter, you'll understand why that arrival is not just personal, it's universal. Because when you embody your quantum self, you don't just collapse a new reality. You become a portal for collective awakening, and that's where your true power begins. You are not here to chase your future. You are not here to heal endlessly, to fix yourself, or to wait for the right alignment of stars. You are here to remember that the future you seek is already encoded within you, that the reality you desire isn't something you attract but something you unlock through your state of being. You are not separate from the field. You are the field in form. The portal is not out there. It's you, and the key that opens the next timeline has always been your frequency. This is the truth that the mystics whispered and the quantum physicists uncovered through equations. Consciousness collapses reality, but not any consciousness. Not the frantic, scattered, overthinking mind. What collapses reality is coherent presence, an inner signal that says, "This is who I am now." The moment your inner state becomes emotionally indistinguishable from the version of you who already lives the desired reality, the field responds, not out of favoritism but because it must. That is the law. That is the nature of resonance. That is the intelligence that governs the quantum, and you don't need to wait until your life looks different to start being different. That's the trap, believing that change begins outside. But the moment you embody the future now, the timelines rearrange, the body responds, the environment responds. People show up differently. Opportunities appear where there was once static, and what seemed like magic is simply the result of frequency alignment, not luck, not chance. Physics, you are not here to be a student of these truths forever. You are here to become the living transmission of them. Every breath, every step, every choice you make is a message to the field. This is who I am. When that message becomes clear, consistent, and emotionally charged, the field bends, the mirror reflects, the wave collapses, and you walk through the doorway of a life that was always waiting for you to match it. But this is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of your embodiment. You now know that manifestation is not an external process. It is the natural byproduct of a coherent inner state. You've seen how timelines respond to vibrational identity. You've understood why healing your nervous system is not a detour, but a direct path to quantum alignment. You've learned that it's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the clearest version of who you already are. So now the invitation is not to keep learning, but to begin collapsing, to stop rehearsing your future and start inhabiting it, to stop looking for signs and start becoming the signal. You are the observer, the emitter, the portal through which new realities come alive. And when you move through the world as that calm, clear, grounded, coherent, you activate a field that doesn't just change your life, it changes the collective. Because make no mistake, your coherence affects the grid. Your frequency contributes to the morphogenetic field. Every time you choose presence over programming, love over fear, embodiment over theory, you become a point of light in the quantum network, a signal of what's possible. And others, many of whom you'll never meet, will feel that ripple. They won't know why, but they'll feel something shift. That's what you're here for, not just to manifest, but to anchor the frequency of the new earth through your being. And if you're ready to take this deeper, not as more knowledge, but as daily embodiment, we've created a powerful tool for you. It's not just a book, it's a practical quantum field navigator designed to help you shift identity, regulate your frequency, and collapse new realities through ritual, coherence, and emotional mastery. It's called Awaken Your Quantum Power, and it's the next step in becoming the version of you that no longer waits, chases, or wishes, but collapses. The link is waiting for you in the pinned comment, and inside, you'll find not only the insights but the practices that turn theory into transformation, because this is no longer about consuming content. It's about becoming content, no longer about waiting for shifts. It's about being the shift, and no longer about hopping for a new world. It's about becoming the frequency that births it. We're not just building a community. We're building a field, coherent, conscious, quantum, and it begins with